Title of today's presentation is Rising of the Dead. We're going to discuss everything in volleyball related to dead ball events. The dead ball events in volleyball are substitutions, libero replacements, timeouts, warm-ups, lineups, pre-match conference, awarding the point, and a variety of conferences that we can have, such as conferences with our partner officials, conferences with head coaches, and conferences with captains. Let's dive into substitutions. We see that our second referee does an excellent job of scanning both benches for dead ball requests, even while awarding the point. We have a whistle and substitution signal only when the subs enter the sub zone. Our second referee authorizes one substitute at a time. Again, our second referee authorizes one substitute at a time. She ensures that both scorekeepers have all the correct and accurate substitution information. She will scan both benches again for any other dead ball request. And finally, she will give the court back to the first referee. Well done by our second referee.
Team and pick that off and force the hitters to try and turn it down the line, just narrowing the court. They want to make sure they're not overrunning the set. They want to block the cross-court shot on in-system sets.
Caroline Juravicius, last time they faced Nebraska, she had a...
From the first referee's perspective, now we see that both our first and second referees scan both benches for dead ball requests. In National Federation and NCAA Women, we see that our first referee will indeed mimic the substitution signal. This will not happen in USAV volleyball play. We take note of the positions of the incoming players. We make a note of where they are going so we have information that will serve us well during the rally. Now let's take a look at libero replacements.
The scoreboard and then goes over the net, so that's going to be a point for Texas.
And Eric, had that ball come back on the Tennessee side of the net, that would have been legal for them to play, but because it hits the structure.
In this dead ball sequence, our libero is going to leave the court for at least one rally for our libero replacement. Take note that libero replacements do not require any kind of whistle or signal, but it is advantageous to communicate to the scorekeepers that the libero is out so that our assistant scorekeeper can make a note of this.
Caroline Kerr misses the mark. Second service error for Tennessee puts Texas in front, and sophomore Emma Hall.
In this dead ball play, our libero will be serving. Again, libero replacements do not require a whistle or a signal from either referee. It is advantageous, however, for our second referee to communicate to both scorekeepers that the libero is serving to ensure that the libero is serving in one position and one position only. Both officials also must take heed and make sure that at no point during a libero replacement that the replacements are not taking place in the substitution zone. Now let's take a look at timeouts. can see, thanks to the scan bar R2, she recognizes the timeout request coming from our head coach on the left. She whistles and gives a timeout signal. She also indicates by pointing towards the attack line the requesting team, and the R2 will indicate the number of timeouts towards the R1 used by both teams. These mechanics are applicable under NFHS and NCAA rules. The R1 will mimic the R2's timeout signal, as well as mimic pointing toward the attack line towards the requesting team. The R2 will indicate the number of timeouts used by both teams. The R1 will not mimic this. When the timeout is over, under NFHS and NCAA rules, these are the things that we do at the end of the timeout. As you can see, the R2 indicates the number of timeouts that are used by both teams. And under the rules that we mentioned earlier, the R1 will mimic the number of timeouts that are used by both teams. The R2 checks to see that our scoring officials are ready to proceed with the duration of the set. One last scan of both benches for any other dead ball requests, such as substitutions or libero replacements, and the R2 will give the court back to the first referee. Under National Federation and NCAA women's rules, our line judges are positioned at the attack line alongside the first referee during timeouts. In USAV volleyball, our line judges are positioned at the midway point of their end lines. National Federation and NCAA women, our line judges will return to their normal positions at the end of the timeout or if 15 seconds are remaining in the timeout. In USAV, our line judges will return to their normal positions at the conclusion of the timeout or if both teams have re-entered the court prior to the end of the timeout. When the timeout is called, we see that line judge 2 walks down their end line. NFHS and NCAA. Line judge 1 waits until the second line judge makes it to the corner, and then both line judges will walk up the sideline to the attack line. At the end of the timeout, both line judges will return to their normal positions. This will occur at either the end of the timeout or when both teams have returned to the court, either at the end of the timeout or prior to the end of the timeout. Let's get into warm-ups. Warm-ups are very important for officials. During warm-ups, the first referee will confer with the line judges, while the second referee will confer with the scorekeeper, assistant scorekeeper, and score flipper or game clock operator. The second referee will also keep the warm-up time on his or her watch, a game clock, or smartphone, only if there are no other options. The first and second referee can also check any court equipment if there was not adequate time to do so prior to the pre-match conference. When the warm-ups begin, the second referee, or both the first and the second referee, will distribute and collect the lineups from each team, as well as introduce themselves during this time to the head coach. As you can see, this is a warm-up of an NFHS high school varsity match in the state of Georgia. As you can see, I am having a pre-match conference with the line judges for the match. A second referee is timing the warm-ups and conferring with the scoring officials, the scorekeeper, assistant scorekeeper, and the game clock operator. Because the equipment and the court are already set and complete, we are also getting the opportunity to observe the warm-ups. We get an opportunity to look at setters, attackers, hitters, liberos, and other players that will be involved in the match. Let's dive into lineups. My favorite number two, a deep analysis on lineups. We're going to see that our second referee utilized the substitution zone for checking lineups. Notice that our second referee does not at any point in time enter the playing court. The second referee has both lineups in hand. Our second referee also is not holding the game ball. We'll talk about that more momentarily. Notice it takes very little time for our second referee to perform her duties as far as checking lineups. The game ball is at the scorer's table, and it remains so until the second referee rolls it to the server. She checks in one last time with scoring officials to see if they're ready to go, performs one last scan of the benches, and returns to court to the first referee to start the match. Here's another second referee doing equally great work. Utilizes the substitution zone for checking lineups, not entering the playing court, has both lineups in hand, will place one lineup on the scorer's table and immediately go to check the other lineup. Again, not holding the game ball. The game ball will remain at the scorer's table. Doing his work, also in very little time. The game ball, which is at the score table, will now be rolled to the server for the start of the set. Checking in one last time with the scoring officials to see if they're ready to go. One last scan of both benches. And handing of the court to the first referee. Excellent work. Lineup checks are crucially important because they allow both the first and second referee to perform the same dead ball scans that we need to perform after awarding the point and prior to the next beckoning for serve. Also, doing our lineup checks correctly not only make sure that our starting players are in correct starting positions, but they allow us to know the status of our setters, the correct rotation of each team prior to the first serve of the set, knowing information regarding our liberos, and knowing our players and their opposites. Some quick notes to remember about lineup checks. The main game ball is to remain at the scorer's table until both lineup checks are completed. Once both lineup checks are completed, the second referee will roll the main game ball to the first server. If applicable, the line judges will give the other game balls to the ball shaker. Prior to sets 2 through 5, there's a special signal that the second referee will use if the floor captains are the same as in the prior set. Speaking of our line judges will take a position at least 3 feet from either the serving hash mark if applicable or the intersection of their respective inline and sideline. The line judges will hold their flags down by their side in one hand and, if applicable, the spare game ball in the other hand. We have just finished discussing the second referee rolling the main game ball to the server and the line judges giving their spare game balls to the ball shakers and taking their normal positions. After the second referee rolls the game ball to the first server, the second referee ensures that both scorekeepers are ready, scans both benches as they would in all dead ball scans, gives the court to the first referee, who should also perform his or her normal dead ball scan, and R2 will perform his or her normal dead ball scan prior to the first serve of the match or set. In this video, you see that the R2, where the second referee is performing the lineup check for both teams. This includes introducing the captains and authorizing any libero replacements. Our R1 will be observing the lineup check to see what positions our players will be taking. Our line judges are in their pre-match preset positions and will remain so until the game balls are given to the first server and ball shaggers. And at this time, their line judges will take their normal positions. When everyone is ready, the R2 will give the court to the R1. The pre-match conference. In this high school varsity match, we see a pre-match conference involving both referees and the line judges. We're going to talk about when these conferences should occur. Here we see our first referee in the corner during the pre-match, where the conference is involving the first referee and the line judges, while the second referee is interacting and having a pre-match conference with the scoring officials. Now, typically in NCAA matches, these pre-match conferences will take place after the coin toss, but there's no rule says when these pre-game conferences can take place. Here you can see in front of the scorer's table near the net post and net stand, we have a pre-match conference with the first referee, the second referee, and our roster captains. Because this is a high school varsity match, this pre-game or pre-match conference also involves the head coaches. Here are some of my recommendations for the pre-match conference involving the roster captains and the referees. Allow the players to introduce themselves first and foremost. Introduce yourselves to the players and introduce your working team, the line judges and the scoring officials. Allow the players to ask questions and make inquiries about playable areas and any rules that they may have questions on. Discuss the playable areas if necessary. Discuss the ways that you will be communicating with the players, be it the first referee or the second referee. Let the players know the things that they can inquire about by rule and the things that they cannot inquire about by rule. Make this meeting as short and brief as possible, but as informative and relaxed as possible. Awarding the point. Our second referee will transition to the receiving team's side at the end of the rally. She'll give the award the point signal and do a simultaneous bench scan. This is awesome work by our second referee. And she will give an infraction signal for getting the simultaneous bench scan. Now, after the awarding the point is over, she does an entire court scan during the dead ball period, which includes both benches for libero replacement requests, substitution request, or timeout request. She then focuses on both teams on the playing court, looking at their alignments, and then returns her focus back to the receiving team.
Harper Murray. 2 wide, and Penn State up by 2.
From the first referee's perspective, let's look at awarding the point. The first referee should allow the R2 to transition to the receiving team side, and then together, both officials will award the point together in sync. They will give the infraction signal in sync. And following the awarding the point signal sequence complete, both officials will perform their appropriate dead ball scans, which include both benches for any potential dead ball requests, timeouts, substitutions, libero replacements. They will look at both teams on the playing court to take a look at their particular alignments. And if there are no further dead ball interruptions and the set continues, then they will begin the process of beckoning for serve and starting the next rally. Conferences with partner officials. Sometimes we run into a situation during a rally that is close, controversial in nature. Sometimes the rally concludes with the first referee is uncertain of the correct ruling. This is where having a conference with the partner officials can be invaluable. Don't be afraid of having a conference prior to awarding point with one or both line judges, the second referee, or all of our partner officials. Now let's talk about conferences with head coaches. Both referees should meet with the head coaches sometime after the pre-match conference to discuss playable areas, recap of the pre-match conference with the roster captains, questions and inquiries from the head coaches, establishing best practices for respectful communication between the head coach and the referees. And in the match, head coach should communicate with the second referee. Things that the head coach can inquire about are score checks, lineup checks, the correct server, substitutions, play inquiries, and rule applications. Under no circumstances should our head coach, or any coach for that matter, yell or holler across the court at the first referee. If the head coach is respectful in his or her question or inquiry, then the first referee should be willing to indicate the number of the offending party, to briefly describe what happened, send information indicated in number 2 through the floor captain. The second referee should have a high IQ such that he or she should anticipate when to confer with the head coach about a close or controversial play. In these two images, we see the second referee having a conference with the head coach. In both cases, coincidentally, about a legal alignment call, one called by the second referee in the top image involving the University of Texas, and a legal alignment called by the first referee with regards to the University of Louisville. We're going to take a look at each of these plays and the professionalism in which our first and second referees displayed. Let's talk about conferences with floor captains. During this training, we discussed the pre-match conference with the roster captains. But in volleyball matches, sometimes our roster captains and our floor captains may be different players. During the match, having timely conferences with the floor captains can prove to be very beneficial for close or controversial plays, rule applications, or potential conduct issues. In the images shown, we see that our first referee, Michelle Prater, is discussing with the floor captain why the teams in question will call for a legal alignment. Let's take a look at these plays which resulted in these conferences. In this first play, we see that the left front for Texas was out of rotation, which resulted in an illegal alignment call by our second referee. Our second referee did a very good job making this call and being ready for a conference with the head coach of Texas. The head coach sends his captain to discuss his call with the first referee. And the first referee, anticipating this, does an outstanding job of being ready to having a professional conference with the floor captain for Texas. In the very same match, our first referee calls an illegal alignment on the serving team, the University of Louisville. See how our second referee did an outstanding job of being ready for a conference with the head coach for Louisville. Now, because of this somewhat controversial but correct call, our first referee did an outstanding job of being ready for the conference with the floor captain for Louisville. This concludes our training presentations on Rising from the Dead, a discussion of all dead ball events in the sport of volleyball.